What's worse than a bunch of injured medical students overflowing the ER? A bunch of sloppy, drunk, injured medical students acting annoying in the ER. That's what you get when the second-floor deck collapses at a white coat party, and all the intoxicated people geek out diagnosing each other on Grey's Anatomy tonight. As Yasuda, Midori Francis, figures out how to keep med students' bodily fluids off of her in the pit, Adams, Nico Taro, searches for a bloodied lab coat, which will hopefully calm the spirits of his patient Sophie. She's currently prepping for surgery since a rather large wooden beam is protruding from her back. Lo and behold, the medics cut her precious white coat off her body in the ambulance, and that's all Sophie can think about. Adams locates the bloodied, shredded mess of a coat, and Sophie quickly transitions into being in a hospital is so cool mode until her stress levels rise again when she realizes she can't feel her right leg. Being the smart, educated medical student she is, Sophie knows this is very, very bad news. She begs Adams to do everything in his power to fix her. Owen, Kevin McKidd, and Amelia, Katerina Scorsone, agree that spinal surgery is necessary, but they decide to just remove the wooden stake from her back, close her up, and see what happens. It's going to be a mess in there, and Amelia needs to know what she's working with before she promises Sophie will be able to walk, let alone stand. But when Amelia opens her up and Owen unstakes her, the situation miraculously becomes uncomplicated. Adams intervenes from the viewing galley intercom, imploring his aunt to perform surgery. Sophie later wakes up to a healed spine and a fresh, sparkling white lab coat, courtesy of Adams. I'm sure Meredith, Ellen Pompeo, would have been pulled in to help with the chaos had her son Bailey not been rushed to the hospital. For those of you just joining us, Meredith spends part of her time in Seattle trying to get funding for her Alzheimer's research and the other part of the time with her kiddos and Nick, Scott Speedman, in Boston. You can imagine her anger when she receives a text from her daughter explaining that Nick took Bailey to the East Coast version of Gray Sloan Memorial. Bailey has appendicitis, and Nick is handling it. Meredith is desperate to catch a flight to Boston so she can wring Nick's neck for not calling her sooner. Enter Richard, James Pickens Jr., with his wife's private jet. Meredith is so snippy with Nick on the phone as she rushes across the country to be with her boy. She becomes panicked that the doctor is going to screw up. Finally, everything becomes clear. Simple steps were missed with Derek. Meredith is afraid her son is going to fall into those same circumstances. Thankfully, Bailey is fine. Meredith cools off, and she and Nick have a talk about how much he loves her kids and wants to be in their lives. Even though Meredith is strong-willed and uber-independent, Meredith asks for a minute to adjust. Nick says he has all the minutes in the world. Could this guy be more perfect? Besides the fact that he didn't call Meredith immediately, I think not. Sometimes, Meredith is so mean to Nick that it makes me want to give him a hug. Perhaps I should look into becoming a professional hugger like that lady who crawled up into the bed with Winston, Anthony Hill, and Millens, Adelaide Kane, patient to lower his blood pressure before surgery. There are weirder ways to make money, I'm sure. It's worth researching. Of course, Winston thinks the professional hugger is annoying, especially when she suggests they postpone surgery for a bit. He asks the human blanket to take a hike and demands Millen prep their patient for surgery. Millen smarts off to Winston, wondering out loud when the coolest doctor became so rude to both patients and residents. This did not go over well with Dr. Ndugu. When their patient begins to spiral out of control on his way to the OR, Winston's tune changes, and he hops up onto the gurney to snuggle. Millen is impressed and tells her Minter after surgery. Winston admits that his personal life has infiltrated his workspace, and he promises not to let it happen again. Read, Maggie served him divorce papers. Ugh. Meanwhile, back in the ER, Griffith, Alexis Floyd, and Quan, Harry Shum Jr., have lost one of the drunk med students and have to scour the hospital to find him before they are both fired. Someone mentioned that they saw him near the stairway to the roof. Griffith and Quan find Eddie pacing on the ledge, holding his bright new coat. Griffith receives his lab results on her tablet and notices that he is not drunk. Eddie is depressed. The pair calmly try and talk Eddie off the ledge, and both are encouraged when he chooses to sit down. Griffith listens as Eddie works through his thoughts and feelings about becoming a doctor. Eddie doesn't think he's cut out for it. He doesn't know how to live with the pressure and pain. It's shocking to hear Quan, who has been silent up until this point, agree with Eddie. Quan admits that he still doesn't feel like a doctor, but he's still here. He assures Eddie that he is not alone and asks for his hand, so he can help him down from the ledge. He wants to get Eddie help. Eddie turns, offers Quan his hand, and allows the two interns to help him down. Later, Griffith offers to listen if Quan needs to talk, but he dismisses her. She ends up in an on-call room snuggling with Adams. I guess these two are talking again. And who needs to hire professional huggers when you have ex-boyfriends to cuddle? I should also inform you that Joe, Camilla Luddington, thought she was pregnant with Link's, Chris Carmack, baby. While waiting for not one but two pregnancy tests, Joe and Link ran through every scenario of what it would look like to be parents to 3 children in diapers. Once the official test came back negative, they agreed to one day have a baby, but not now. I'm confident that their baby will have amazing skin, teeth, and hair. I'm just saying.